Hi, welcome back to another episode of Table for Us, hosted on Podbean, which is the platform that makes it simple for me to be able to share all of my podcast episodes with you today. Before we jump into today's topic, first let's give an honor and glory to God. I give him all the praise and all the honor and glory because without him, nothing that I do would be possible. Okay. So today, what we are going to be talking about is mental health and therapy. So I touched on this a little bit in one of my other episodes. If you have been following me, if you have not subscribed to my channel, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and you also turn those notifications on, okay? Today, we're going to dive into mental health and therapy in more depth, right? So I mentioned it a little bit in a previous episode when I was talking about the importance of therapy and talking and so forth, parenting teenagers, and how if your teenagers do not want to or feel comfortable talking to you, it's important to get them the help that they need, whether that's through a therapist, psychiatrist, somebody in the family, or so forth. But now I want to jump into mental health and therapy in the Black community, and then also my own personal experience and journey with mental health as well as therapy. Okay. Let's go back to, I'm going to say back in the days. That's what we're going to say, right? So right now we're in the 21st century. It's 2025, right? So growing up, I was raised in the 80s, born in the late 70s, but I was raised in the 80s. And I remember you didn't talk about what was going on in your house. You didn't really talk about your feelings, right? Even as a girl, I was the eldest, or am the eldest of all of my siblings, right? And I was actually taught and raised that you don't cry about stuff, okay? You basically pretty much you swallow it, you bottle it up, and you keep it moving, okay? So I carried that method all the way up until adulthood. And to be honest with you, and I can actually admit this now, because of the way I was raised, I realize with my older children, that was the same thing that I was pretty much raising them as, not really talking and sharing their feelings and so forth, and just saying, stop crying and suck it up, which was not the right way to parent, but this was the way that I was raised. So I didn't know any better. Being an adult now and looking back, there was a lot of things I wish that were different growing up. But we can't go back and change things, right? So I just want to shed some light on the things that I've noticed in when I was growing up and what I see even still today. So first things first was we don't talk about what happens in the house. What happens in the house stays in the house. So whatever problems, trauma, or anything like that's going on in the house, you don't talk about that with nobody else. So that meant therapy. Therapy was literally frowned upon. Okay. We didn't go to therapists. We didn't talk about our feelings to even outside family members. So if you didn't live in the house, you didn't know what was going on in the house. Or even I remember being in junior high and we had school counselors. And I vaguely remember there was some stuff that was happening. I can't give you details because I don't remember details. But I just remember something that was really happening. And there was this school counselor. He was an amazing school counselor. His name was Mr. Love. And he just had this way with us, right? Where he could just tell when something was off or something wasn't right with us. And then there was also one of our teachers. He was our favorite teacher, Mr. Tagalola. And he too was like that, but he wasn't a counselor. But he could always tell when something was wrong with the students. And I remember getting sent to, instead of the principal office, which is probably where I should have gone because I was doing something I had no business doing, or I was being disruptive or something. And they sent me to Mr. Love's office, to the counselor's office, to talk to him. And I remember just sitting there, and I remember wanting to talk and tell what was going on with me. And again, I can't remember what it was, but it was something that was literally going on with me then. And I remember just sitting there quiet. And then my quietness turned into frustration and anger, right? Because it's like I'm angry because I feel like I'm going to get in trouble if I talk about what is ever going on. And I really want to talk about it. And it's almost like shaking up a soda with the carbonation. You shake it up, right? And now there's all this pressure that's built up that any moment, if it can, that cap is going to blow off, right? So I remember just sitting there so frustrated and getting angry. And then all of a sudden, tears are just rolling down my eyes, right? So now I've gone from frustration, anger, and now I'm just emotional, just crying. I'm still angry and upset, but these tears are rolling down my face because I can't say what's going on. And most importantly, I don't even know how to say what is going on because I wasn't raised to talk about my feelings. And so we just sat there quietly. He respected that there was something that was wrong with me and that I needed a moment. Okay. So fast forward a little bit. The first time that I remember going to therapy was when I was probably, I want to say 23. And I went to therapy after my eldest daughter was born. One of the things that they don't talk about either is postpartum depression. You hear it a lot now. I see it a lot on social media, but it wasn't a big thing that was talked about then. Okay. And studies show that postpartum depression can happen any time from the time the baby is born, even up until your child is 5 years old. You can experience postpartum depression. So I experienced postpartum depression shortly after my daughter was born, but there were so many other things that was going on with me that built up on top of the postpartum depression. So all the things that I have been pushing to the side and not talking about and just been bottling up, it's pretty much at this point now we're a volcano, right? And all this pressure is building up, is ready to erupt. I can't remember if someone actually suggested I feel like my doctor might have said I needed to go and talk to somebody because it wasn't something that I just voluntarily decided I was going to go to therapy. I remember someone telling me I needed to go to therapy, and I remember having this conversation saying, no, Black people don't go to therapy. We don't talk about what's going on with us. We just we stuff it down and we keep moving. So I went ahead and I went to therapy to mainly talk about the depression that I was feeling after having my daughter. And in going to therapy, all of these other things start coming up that I literally locked in Pandora box and completely forgot about. Things about my relationship with my mom, my relationship with my dad, my lack of my relationship with my sister on my dad's side. There was just all these things that were coming up that I didn't even realize were bothering me, right? Because it's like I'm here to talk about my postpartum depression. And I did a couple of sessions, I remember, and it was with a white man. And I just felt like he didn't get me, right? I felt like he helped me as much as he could help me. I will say that. He helped me bring some things to the surface that I didn't realize I forgot about him. I had locked him up. So out of sight, out of mind. So now here we go. So that she's my second child. So we're going to fast forward to now my youngest daughter, my third child. Now, this is when the postpartum depression really hit me. And this is when I knew what was going on. So the first time I didn't realize that I was having postpartum depression. So someone said, hey, maybe you should go talk to somebody. This time I actually knew something was wrong with me, but I didn't go to therapy because in my mind, I felt we've always been raised that we don't talk about things. We don't go to therapy. Okay. And when I did decide to go, at the time, I felt like it didn't help me. Okay. So I dropped my two older children off at school, or was it school at the time? Yeah, they both were in school at the time. And it's just me and my baby girl. I was leaving my mom's house and I remember and this may sound crazy, if you're not a mom or something like that, and if you're a guy or you're a woman who hasn't had children, and you're not familiar with this, just no judgment here, okay? Just listen up. It was crazy to me at the time because I didn't understand it. But looking back, I'm like, that was serious postpartum depression. So I'm driving, right? And one of the things I'm so grateful for is my personal relationship with God, because in the midst of the things that were happening with me, I knew to pull over, and I called my baby girl's, her great grandmother, right? So her dad's grandmother, on the payphone. This was how long ago this was. And I don't think I had my cell phone or something at the time. Because actually it was early, so I didn't have minutes. Don't judge me. So back then, this is when you either paid for minutes or you had a certain amount of minutes before a certain time, right? So it was literally in the morning, and so I pulled over and I called her on the phone. And I said, I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what's wrong with me. And she was like, what's going on, baby? And I said, there's these voices. And I thought I was going crazy, right? I said, there's these voices that is telling me to drive my car down to Oyster Point to the water and drive my car into the water with me and my baby in the car. And she said, let's pray. She didn't judge me or anything. She just immediately just started praying. And we finished praying and she was like, come to my house. Where are you? I can't remember if I actually, she lived in Oakland at the time. I can't remember if I actually drove to her house, but I just sat there for a moment after I got off the phone with her. I sat in my car for a moment and I just started praying like, Lord, help me protect my mind. Because at this point, I'm like, okay, the enemy trying to attack me. I didn't understand everything that was going on with me. And I didn't understand everything that was going on with me at the time. But I really felt like something was just telling me to just, you're tired. You can't take it anymore. Just, you'll feel so much better. Just drive your car into the water. And I was like, no, there has to be a better way. That don't seem right. And it was literally like I'm driving and then next thing I know, I pulled over. It was like, God, nope, pull over and stop. So instead of her judging me or not believing me, she immediately started praying for me. And I'm so grateful and thankful for that because I honestly don't know what I would have done. And looking back now and seeing everything that I see on television, looking back now and seeing everything that I see now on television, not on television, on social media with these young girls and young moms with children and how the family is saying, oh yeah, they wrote this note or they did this and they did that. Please, especially when a child was just born or a child up to 5 years old, postpartum depression is real. That's one thing, right? Then you have just regular life depression. You have all of these other mental health things that affect us, right? There's things that are passed down, bipolar, schizophrenia. There's so many different things that are passed down. And some of it is just beyond your control. A lot of it actually is beyond your control. So you need to talk to somebody. In some cases where you can talk to somebody. And then in other cases, you need to probably talk to a psychiatrist and find out if there's a chemical imbalance within your body, right? Where you need the help of some medications to balance your hormones and stuff inside your body to manage your mental health. And there is nothing wrong with that, right? But growing up, we always thought in the Black community, right, that talking to a therapist, needing a psychiatrist, needing medication or anything of that sort, you were crazy, something was wrong with you, and you don't do this, and you're fine, and all these different stigmatisms that would be placed on you if you were seeing a therapist. I say, in casual conversation to this day now, because I have a therapist and I meet with her. I was meeting with her weekly. We've changed it to every other week. And it's a form of self-care for me. One week I may be fine, and next week I'm like, oh, it's just too much. Life be lifing. I got my personal relationship with God, and I pray about everything, but I still feel like you need that dialogue of that back and forth, right? And talking to a best friend or a close relative doesn't give you what you need because you're going to hold back on certain information out of embarrassment or feeling judged or whatever the reason it may be. So when you go to therapy, you literally, I could just dump everything on you, not feel bad because this is your job. This is what you do, right? And you're here to help me. So I'm going to dump every little thing on you. If a bird flew towards my face and it frustrated me, I'm telling my therapist about it. Because why am I getting frustrated about a bird flying around in the air, but it got too close to my face? What's going on? Is it something deeper? And that's the other thing. We experience so much stuff in life that when we get triggered by certain things, it's because there is something deeper, an underlying cause that is causing that, whether it's, or even anxiety. It's not just anger, anxiety, depression. There's something that happened in the past that you might have suppressed and don't realize it, an event that might have happened that has caused this trauma on you, childhood trauma, adult trauma, all the stuff, right? Let me back up some. So the first time I went to therapy was at 23. The second time I went to therapy was actually about 4 years ago. And that time I went to therapy was for PTSD. I had an accident in a Walmart, and some items from the very top shelf fell on me, and I injured myself. And looking back, I'm like, how did I get so traumatized by this when so much other stuff has happened to me in my life? But for a minute, I couldn't go into stores that had high shelves because I was afraid that things were going to fall on me. So my therapist had to basically help me through PTSD and being able to go back out shopping and stuff like that. I started to revert to just online shopping and didn't want to go into stores. But in the midst of her helping me with that, we touched on some other things. One of them was my relationship with my dad, because I didn't really go into that with the first therapist. So we touched on my relationship with my dad and his passing and how I never grieved or processed anything about his sudden death. He passed away unexpectedly. And there was so much going on. I was trying to be strong for my children. And I was also pregnant at the time. Well, found out I was pregnant right after he passed away. And I just suppressed my feelings about it. And after my son was born, which was almost a year after my dad had passed, I just got into mommy mode and was just in so much joy with just my baby boy that I still never processed or grieved the passing of my dad. So with that therapist in PTSD, and that therapist was an actual woman, but she was a white woman, and she was really good. But I still felt like the being able to relate to things as a Black woman, that there was a bit of a disconnect there. Nothing against her, because I still felt like she was a great therapist. So now we're going to fast forward to, I want to say actually it was this year that I decided to, for no reason, nothing happened to me or anything. I just felt like I needed therapy. There was still some unresolved things that I was dealing with. Life was lifing. And I needed to talk to somebody. I have a favorite cousin that I talk to about just about everything. She knows just about everything about me. And then I have a best friend and I talk to him about things. But like I said, you're going to be subconsciously selective on what it is that you share. Not that it's, oh, okay, I don't want you all in my business, but it's just like some things you're just going to be like, okay, I don't want to be judged, so I'm going to hold this in or whatever. So my therapist now is a Black woman. And honestly, when we have therapy sessions, it's almost like I'm talking to a friend in a sense, but I'm not talking to a friend. So I literally tell her everything that's going on. And I know she can't tell anybody else because you got that patient, client, patient, doctor, patient confidentiality. So I'm not worried about her telling my business to anybody else. Not that my cousin or my best friend would, but it's still, you feel very comfortable. And there's a little bit of judgment there. Not judgment in a bad way, but judgment is as she has started to know who I am, and she literally puts a mirror in front of me to see the thing. So it's like we're always on the inside looking out, okay? And it's hard for us to see how other people perceive us. So she puts that mirror in front of me, not judgment, but she puts that mirror in front of me so that I can see it from how everybody else sees it. When certain things arise and I feel some type of way about something, and it's like she flips it around and then it's like, yeah, that probably wasn't the good way to react to that. And she was like, how do you think you could have reacted different? Like she gives me those type of things where it's, okay, now I'm in here. It's almost like self-paced therapy where she's working me through different things. Because at some point or another, I'm not going to be doing therapy and I need to know how to navigate life on my own. So that's why I encourage therapy, because they give you the tools that you need in order to navigate life, right? It's very much similar to the Bible. The Bible gives you clear instructions on how you should talk, how you should think, how you should act, how you should walk. It gives you all these steps, right? It's literally a blueprint of how to live life. And I feel like therapy gives you those tools, right, to be able to do the same thing the Bible's telling you, but on a more of a mental or a more of a technical. It's hard to explain, but I feel like the two in conjunction work together. I feel like you can be spiritual and have that personal relationship with God and life could be great. Or you could have therapy and you're managing your life with the tools that they gave you. But when you bring the two together, I feel like you're on a whole other level of living life. Okay. So I don't want to take one from the other because they're both great. But I feel like if you can have both and combine them, then you're absolutely great. Because there's so many things that have been happening in my life. And I honestly, if these things happened back then, I don't think I'd be here today. Or if I was here, I've probably been had a nervous breakdown, been in somebody's mental institution, or I wouldn't be the mom that I like. There's just so many things that I would not be today had I didn't have both my personal relationship with God and that therapy that I finally decided to go and get and stop being ashamed of how people are going to perceive it or what people are going to say and all that stuff. Like when you take all of that out of the equation and you're like, look, I need help. I need professional help. And you get that help. The first thing is actually realizing you need the help. Okay. Because a lot of us, we're raised that this is not okay, or we're in denial, thinking we don't need therapy. We don't need help. We don't need God because he knows everything. You need both. Okay. If ain't nobody told you, I'm going to tell you, you need both. You need Jesus, you need God, and you need therapy. So get both of them. Okay. Even still with having both of them, I'm not going to sit up here and say that life is just rainbows and unicorns. Okay. You're still going to face your trials. You're still going to face your tribulations. You're still going to face hard things, but you're going to respond to them differently, is what I will say from my own experience. A good example would be the other day, my refrigerator that I've had for 2 years, I'm sorry, let me back up. There was a little mini storm or whatever out here, and I forgot for some odd strange reason. I won't even say odd strange reason. I know it's for a reason. It's for protection, right? So the circuit, the electricity from my garage runs on a pretty much almost a different circuit, I feel, than the rest of the house. So whenever it rains or we have a mini little windstorm or something like that, my circuit fuse box or whatever, it will shut down all the electricity in the garage. The electricity in the house will still be on, but the electricity in the garage will not be on. And when I go and reset the circuit breaker, it will not come back on until it has stopped raining and all that stuff. I probably need to get it checked out. But anyway, so it didn't even click to me. That whole day it had been raining. I wasn't even paying attention about going in the garage. I didn't need anything for that. You're probably wondering, okay, what's the big deal? In the garage, I have a vertical standing deep freezer and a second refrigerator. And we have stuff in both, right? And then we have the refrigerator in the house. So the entire day, there was no electricity. Now, I didn't realize this until the next day. And I'm sitting there and I was like, oh, let me go grab some bread. So I freeze bread because bread goes fast in my house. So I'll usually go and buy 4 or 5 loaves of bread because I don't like running back and forth to the store. So I will freeze bread. We freeze milk, things that we go through a lot, right? So I was like, oh, the bread's getting low. Let me go grab a loaf of bread out of the freezer and bring it in the house because the boys, they make sandwiches and so forth. And I go and I'm like, why is the bread not frozen? And then I see, because there's like a green light that lets me know when the deep freezer is on. I'm saying, electricity's been off since yesterday. So everything is defrosting. So I'm like, oh my goodness. So immediately I'm like, okay, let me get the extension cord, run the extension cord, and get the what do you call that thing? What do you call that thing? Oh my gosh, it's not the extension cord, but it's the grounding thing to make sure that the surge protector. So let me go grab the surge protector and an extension cord or whatever, plug those in and run it to the house so that we can turn the deep freezer and the refrigerator in there back on. So I do that or whatever. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not going to get frazzled by this because it's fine. The stuff that did melt that we couldn't save was basically popsicles. I'll throw those out and I'll get new ones. I'll just go buy some new ones. So then after doing that, I go to the refrigerator inside the house and I'm grabbing some and I'm like, why is the stuff warm in here? Now, keep in mind, I said the electricity in the house never goes out when we have storms. Like, it's fine, right? My house is only, first of all, let me just tell y'all this. My house is only 4.5 years old. It got built in 2021. So for the life of me, I just don't understand this other than it's a fire thing to keep from the house catching on fire, that the electricity in the garage does this. So the house is fine. So I'm like, why is my refrigerator not cold? What the heck is going on? I open up the freezer. All of the ice that the freezer has made is frozen. It's a pool. Not frozen, it's melted. It's a pool. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I'm like, my refrigerator done broke. So I get a little frustrated and I'm just like, y'all done broke the refrigerator because y'all keep letting the door slam, because it's one of those smart refrigerators or whatever. And I'm always telling my children to stop slamming, letting the door slam, because it's one of those ones you can knock on and it lights up and all that stuff, whatever. And I'm like, y'all done broke the refrigerator because y'all be letting the door slam, blah, blah, blah. So I got frustrated, but then at the same time, I had to get out the house because I was going to, I think my boys had a game or something. I don't know. It was something I was going to. And I had to take a moment. And immediately in that moment, I was like, this ain't nothing but this. And then I'm remembering my tools from therapy. And it's, okay, how can I react differently to things that I actually can control? Like how I immediately, like with the garage, let me just hook something else up, right? So I immediately was like, okay, let's start moving everything out of this refrigerator. Let's put it into the refrigerator in the garage because now that's on and it's fine, it's working. And then I'll deal with the refrigerator later. But I can say me 3 years ago probably would have had a whole meltdown. I probably would have started crying. I probably would have started stressing. I probably would have just, because there was so many things that was going on at once. So this is why I say that having that personal relationship with God and having therapy and having them together, it helps you react differently to life challenges. I'm not saying you won't have those challenges. Like I said, you will have them, but you'll be able to respond and act differently about them. So after all of that, I think it was their game. So I'm at their game or whatever, and I'm sitting there and I'm just take a moment to woosah. And then I just start praying because I own my house. So I can't call a landlord and say, hey, come fix this or whatever. And then my warranty for the refrigerator literally just expired in September last month. No, I'm lying, in June. So I'm like, okay, I'm beyond my warranty or whatever. And then my home warranty, which I was paying for, I switched companies, right? And I'm in this waiting period to where I can't file a claim. No, I'm not in waiting periods. I think did I cancel that? I made the lapse. Anyway, my home warranty is not in effect right now. I have homeowner's insurance, but it don't cover your appliances. Home warranty covers your appliances. And I will get into that in a whole nother episode when I talk about home ownership versus renting and everything. The pros and cons. One of the cons in home ownership is something break, you got to come out your pocket. You can't call your landlord. But anywho, so with all of that was going on, I just felt like this is just so much on my shoulders. And I started to feel basically overwhelmed and bogged down with everything that just happened, right? And so much stuff was happening, not just the garage and the electricity and all that stuff. There's a bunch of other stuff, whatever, that has been happening with my life that I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so these are little small things compared to everything else. So you know how you have all these big stuff or whatever, and you start piling on this small stuff, and then one more small thing, right? So I had to take a moment and pray and ask God basically to help me will it back in and pretty much help me with the situation with my refrigerator, right? I already got to deal with my garbage disposal that went out, and I just can't take another unexpected expense. And this is why you should have emergency funds set aside, which I already used because I had a leak in my house again. And I'll talk about this in a whole nother episode. But anyway, and then after praying, I immediately went on YouTube and I was like, okay, let me look up. Actually, I Googled what could be possible reasons because my refrigerator isn't that old. It's only 2 years old. So maybe it's something that's simple, right? And it gave me a list of different things that I can try. So I did those when I got back home, and it's fine. Yay. So all this to basically say is, please, one, if you yourself are feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling like, or maybe not even overwhelmed, like you're anxious about something or something just doesn't seem normal, or I won't even say normal, something seems off, right? And or you are overly frustrated, angry about things, or you just had a child. Postpartum depression is so real and they don't talk about it enough in the Black community. Just any of these things, please seek help. Or if you have a family member and you're seeing different symptoms and signs, talk with them, check on them, right? And listen to them when they're telling you certain things. Take them serious, whatever it is that they're telling you. I remember this story. It was on the news and I remember seeing it on social media. It was this mom, and I can't remember if it was 3 or 4 children, but there was multiple children. She was from the Bay Area. I believe it was Vallejo. And she literally, they were like, oh, they were talking about after the fact, right? How she had all these mental health issues, but I really believe it was just postpartum depression. But there was signs that she was telling family and she was asking in so many words for help. And she didn't receive that help. The family, I wouldn't say they didn't take her serious, but they didn't act quick enough. And she ended up throwing her children over a bridge into some water, I believe. And I could be getting the story a little wrong, the details, and it was just horrible as a mom, right? And you're just like, oh my God, those poor babies. And it's just something that could have been avoided had family stepped in or somebody called a professional, because there's resources out there that will help you with this if you seek them. They don't just voluntarily fall in your lap. So definitely I encourage you to get the help that you need. And even if something's not wrong with you and I just need to talk to somebody and want to be able to talk to somebody freely, it is okay to get therapy. I truly believe it should be a form of self-care. Just how we go and we get our health checkups, we go get our teeth checked, we go get our eyes checked, we get different things checked. Your mental needs to be checked on as well, okay? Get you a therapy and get you a personal relationship with God, okay? So that is the episode for today. I hope you guys have something to take away from this. I hope it encouraged you to step outside of feeling like you're going to be judged if you go get help. Please get help. Do not let people discourage you from talking to a therapist. Please also talk to God. Yes, he knows all things, but he wants us to come to him. Okay? He wants us to be specific in our prayers. So please take your concerns and your worries to God. So again, thank you so much for tuning in and pulling up a seat to the table today. If you are interested in starting your own podcast, please check out the description below on how you can get started with Podbean. And I pray and hope that you all have a blessed rest of your week.